All right, so again, this is continuing with domain and range of circles. All right, suppose we're graphing this equation. X plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equal 6. Oops, sorry, 9. What's the center?
Negative 1 and 2.
What's the radius?
3.
All right, so let's graph it first before determining the domain and range. So negative 1, 2 is here. And from the center, I'm going to go 3 all the way around, correct? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then draw the circle. All right, so there's a circle. All agree? All right, so from this circle, I'm going to determine the domain and range. Now remember from previous course, the domain is a set of which coordinates?
X and Y.
Not x and y. The domain is a set of which coordinates? The x coordinates. Okay? The range is a set of which coordinates? The y's. Don't forget a lot of stuff with domain and range. Domain is a set of x coordinates, and y is a set of the range is a set of y coordinates. Okay, and when finding the domain, you go along your x-axis. Remember, domain is a set of x coordinates. Domain, set of x coordinates. On the graph, function, whatever it is. And the range is a set of y coordinates. Okay? All right, so the main set of x coordinates and the range is a set of y coordinates. Okay, so if this is my circle, my graph, and I want to find the domain you go along the x-axis. So basically you're gonna ask yourself, all right, so when I go along the x-axis, when I go from left to right, like this, that's your domain. You go from left to right. See how I'm touching the x-axis? You'll see it? Okay. So as I go from left to right, when do I start touching the graph? When x is what?
Negative 4.
Right, very good. That's when I start touching the graph. So what you may want to do is actually draw a line that indicates where you start. So you may want to do something like this. This is where it touches, so it's going to start here, right? At negative 4, correct? And then notice what I mean by domain. Domain is a set of x coordinates. So when x is this number right here, whatever that number is, am I going to get a point on the graph? In fact, how many points on the graph do I get for this x right here that I'm pointing to? 2, right here and right here. Y'all agree? So
Wait. What?
if x is negative 2, let's say, how many points on the graph when x is negative 2? 2, right here and where? Right here, correct?
Oh, okay.
You see? When x is, let's say, negative 2.5, when x is negative 2.5, which is here, do you see I get this point and that point, right? Okay? Y'all agree that this, I don't want to draw on this, but I guess I'm going to have to. This point here, what is the x coordinate for this point right here? Negative 2. What's the x coordinate right here? Negative 2. What's the x coordinate right here? Negative 1. What's the x coordinate right here? Okay. What is the x coordinate right here? What's the x coordinate right here? And so on, right? Now I chose integers, but y'all do realize that when x is negative 2.66668, I get a point in the graph. Okay. All right. So for the domain, I start touching the graph at negative 4. All the way to what?
2.
All the way to 2. So my domain, my x's will be any number between what? Negative 4 and 2. Now, how many numbers are in my domain? An infinite number. Don't do this. Don't count. Well, I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope you're not doing that. You're at a level now to where you know that your domain consists of any real number. Real number mean square roots, cube roots, fourth roots, rational numbers, irrational numbers, right? Is it just the integers? No. So since there's an infinite number, how do you indicate the domain? Remember last semester?
Negative infinity to positive.
Well, okay, it's not going to be negative infinity though, but you're on the right track. It'll be an interval, is what I want you to say. It'll be an interval. So how do you write the domain here?
Use a comma, not a bracket, right?
No. Okay.
Negative 4 to
All right, listen. Domain and range, you're going to use brackets or parentheses. You use brackets if you include that number. Use parentheses if you cannot. Remember that? Brackets, parentheses.
bracket.
Brackets you use if you include that x value or y value. Parentheses means you cannot. So my question is negative 4 an x coordinate in my domain? In other words, am I going to get a point on the graph that says x is negative 4?
Yes.
Yes. It's just right here. What's this x value right here? Negative 4. So it's a bracket. Bracket negative 4, comma all the way to what? 2 with a bracket. So that's your domain. So it's very simple to find it. You just go from left to right. And notice what I did. I took a ruler and I asked myself, when do I start tracing the graph? What's the smallest x coordinate that's on my graph? What's the smallest x coordinate? Negative 4. And what's the largest x coordinate on my graph? 2. So my domain is from negative 4 to what? 2, meaning any real number in here is on the graph for x. So no matter where I'm on this graph, see, do y'all agree that this graph has an infinite number of points? And all these x coordinates, look, I'm touching all these points. All of these x coordinates are going to lie between where? Negative 4 and 2. Is 4 in my domain? No, because the graph doesn't go there. It stops where? 2. All right. Okay, now the range. The range you go along the y-axis. Now remember, you always go from small to larger. So you go from bottom up. Okay? So where do I see how I'm touching the y-axis?
Negative 1.
You start at negative 1 right here, right? Y'all agree? So if you need to use a different color, use a different color if you have to. But is it bracket or parentheses?
Bracket.
Very good. Comma. All the way, and what's the largest y value? 5. Bracket. And that's it. That's all you do. So let's do one more. Let's suppose you had x minus 3 squared plus y squared equal 25. Okay, so x minus 3 squared plus y squared equal 25. What's the center?
0.
What's the radius? All right, and so I'm going to graph the center and the radius. So the center is 3, 0. That's here. Y'all agree? On the x-axis. All right, I should not have used 5, but that's fine. I'm going to go 5 units all the way around, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's about here. All right. 1, and then 5 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, remember, if you mess up with the center of the radius, then obviously your domain and range is going to be incorrect. Okay, so you don't want to mess up with the center of the radius. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then connect them. Like that. All right, so now we go. Domain, range. All right, so for domain is a set of x coordinates, right? Go from left to right on the x-axis. What's the smallest?
Negative.
Okay, bracket, correct?
Yes.
Comma all the way to what?
8.
Yeah, y'all agree that's 8 right here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's 8, all the way to 8 with the bracket. Any questions on that? Okay. The range go along the y-axis, but from bottom up. Always remember, domain and range always from smallest to largest. Now, one of your worksheets that you got back, some of you had Let me just tell you right now before we do the range. So, and it was just a couple of you. But for the inequality, let's say it was x is greater than 5, let's say. And you know the graph, if this is 5, I go which way?
For the right.
To the right, correct? With parentheses on 5. But the interval, you go from left to right. So I must start where? At 5. So you must start at 5. All the way to what? Infinity. Now, if your graph was this, here's -6, parentheses to the left. Your interval, now you're not going to say -6 to -infinity, correct?
No.
Don't do that. It's got to be from smallest to largest. So this arrow is pointing towards what? -infinity. So it's -infinity to what? -6 with the parentheses. Okay. So just remember that. All right. So over here, going from smallest to largest, then that's why we go from bottom up. We don't go from top bottom, right? We go from bottom up. We go start with the smallest. So what's the smallest y value?
-5.
Okay, bracket. All the way to what? 5 bracket. And that's it. So it's already okay on how to find the domain and range. But obviously your circle has to be correct before you can do that part. Find the domain and range is easy. Just go along the x-axis, go along the y-axis. Okay?